to the fifth episode of my podcast, Everything Sports and Trade Talk, and let's talk about what we're going to be discussing today. So, to start us off, we will talk about the NFL Divisional Playoffs preview, and I will give you my picks. I did not do so well on my wild card picks. I was only 1 for 4, but I'm determined to improve on the second go-around. And after I give you the preview of those games and my picks, I will be talking about the MLB power rankings that came out a couple days ago. I will be talking about my reactions to that and also why I think the rankings stand the way they are. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get right into the NFL preview. 2 out of the 4 the first round divisional playoffs for the NFL will be taking place on Saturday. So I'll start off by talking about the Vikings versus the 49ers, and then I'll talk about the second game that will be happening on Saturday, the Titans versus the Ravens. So the Vikings, they have made it into the NFC divisional round by upsetting the New Orleans Saints. They defied the odds and ended up getting out of that game with the upsets. One thing of note in this game between the Vikings and the 49ers is both teams have excellent defense. I believe they were actually tied in their defensive efficiency during the regular season. So that's something to look for. I assume that this defensive efficiency will lead to both Lamar Jackson and Jimmy Garoppolo being under pressure while on offense. So that's something of note. And Dalvin Cook, he will play a big role in this one for the Vikings. During the regular season, he rushed for 1,135 yards and 13 touchdowns. And the 49ers, talking a little bit about their running backs, they have 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 dominant running backs. One of them, Raheem Mostert, another, Tevin Coleman, and the third, Matt Breida. So both teams have great defense and great running backs, so that's something of note. So there's your little preview, and now I'll talk a little bit about the Titans versus Ravens game, and then I will give you my picks on both of these. So the Titans, they ended up also pulling off an upset. They beat the New England Patriots, and that was mainly because of their absolute beast of a running back, Derrick Henry. The guy is 6'3", 250 pounds, and he is an absolute tank. And he single-handedly carried his team to a victory on his birthday, which was actually kind of interesting. And he did not disappoint. He basically was the whole offense for his team. And the New England Patriots, who had the best defense in the whole NFL, could not stop him. So that's obviously something to look for. As long as he stays healthy, the Titans will probably have a decent shot of potentially winning this game. So that's something to look out for on the Titans side. And, of course, for the Ravens, they, of course, have Lamar Jackson. He led the NFL in touchdown passes with 36 this season, and also led in quarterback rushing yards with 1,206. I believe he actually broke an NFL record for rushing yards in a season by a quarterback. So those are your that's your preview for the 2 games on Saturday. Now I'll talk about the games on Sunday, and then I will talk about my picks for these games. So now let's talk a little bit about the games that will be happening on Sunday. The first of which is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Houston Texans, and that precedes the second game of the day, which will be the Green Bay Packers against the Seattle Seahawks. So those will be the two games happening on Sunday, and now let's get into the overviews of these games. So Kansas City is favored by 9.5 points over the Texans in this upcoming game. Kansas City and the Texans have already had a face-off earlier in the season, and the Texans came out on top despite being down 17-3 at halftime. The game ended with Deshaun Watson. He ended up scoring on a 1-yard touchdown rush, and I believe the final score was 24-23. During this game, Kansas City was dealing with injuries, and this may have affected the outcome of the game. Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for the Chiefs, was dealing with an ailing ankle. Sammy Watkins, a receiver for Kansas City, was dealing with some hamstring issues, so that may have affected both Mahomes and Sammy Watkins' play. Actually, Sammy Watkins may have actually not been able to play at all in this game due to that injury. So there's your little overview of the Chiefs versus Texans game. And now let's talk a little bit about the Packers-Seahawks. So the Packers, this is an interesting fact, they have been very efficient on both sides of the ball, and they have a plus 12 turnover differential for the season. So they do an excellent job protecting the ball and turning over the other team. And their defensive line is also very strong with Kenny Clark in the lead. They have an excellent defensive line. On the other side, there will be the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is having arguably the best season of his career. He's been having an excellent season this season, and one other are the two best in his career. He's ranked number one for his stats for the best in a couple of years. And another thing about the Seahawks, they have been strangely good on the road this season, which I'm still trying to figure out. Don't understand it at all. They've gone 8-1 outside of Seattle. This may play an important part in this game because it will be taking place in Green Bay. So those are your overviews for these games on this coming Sunday. And now let's talk about my picks for these 4 games. So here we go. These are my picks for the NFL Divisional round coming up this weekend. The first game, the 49ers versus the Vikings. I'm going to be picking the 49ers. For one reason, the 49ers have they've just been excellent this season. They started out something like, 10-1. They were just dominant. Jimmy Garoppolo has really improved in the past couple of years. Used to be the Patriots' backup quarterback and worked his way up to the 49ers starting quarterback. The Vikings, they've had a good run this season. I just don't think that Kirk Cousins will be able to compete as well. I'm sure he'll put up a good fight, but I really think Jimmy Garoppolo will outlast him. So that's my pick. I'm picking the 49ers over the Vikings. Second game, the Titans versus the Ravens. I'm going to pick the Ravens. They're just so dominant. Lamar Jackson, rushing, passing, he does everything. It'll be interesting, though, with Derrick Henry for the Titans. It'll be interesting if he stays healthy. Anything's possible. It could sway. He was dominant against the Patriots. They couldn't stop him, as I mentioned earlier, and they're the best defense in the league. So, I don't know. He could completely change the outcome of the game, but I'm still going to go with the Ravens for my pick. So I believe those are Saturday's games. So the 49ers, Ravens. And now I believe these are the Sunday games. The Texans versus the Chiefs. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They ended up losing to the Texans earlier in the season, which I mentioned before, but their quarterback was dealing with some ankle problems, and their wide receiver was having some trouble as well, but they still ended up up 17-3 at the half. I just don't think there's much chance that the Texans can pull off another victory like that with the Chiefs healthy. So, yep, I'm going to pick the Chiefs, and I believe I just picked the three teams that were favored to win in those 3 games. But for the last game, the Seahawks-Packers, I'm going to pick the underdog. I'm going to go with the Seahawks for a couple of reasons. Russell Wilson has just been having an incredible season for the Seahawks, and also because the Seahawks have been weirdly good on the road. So I'm gonna play the odds. I'm going to go with the Seahawks upsetting the Packers. And we'll just see what happens. So once again, my picks: 49ers over the Vikings, Ravens over the Titans, Chiefs over the Texans, and Seahawks over the Packers. Last week, with my wild card predictions, I went 1 for 4, so I'm hoping to improve on that percentage this time, but obviously no guarantees. So those are my picks for this week's upcoming NFL Divisional playoffs. And now let's talk a little bit about the MLB power rankings that came out a couple of days ago. So now let's talk about the MLB power rankings that came out on MLB.com. The article was written by Allison Footer, and it came out on January 5th. So let's just dive into these rankings. So at number 1 right now, it's the Yankees. No real surprises here. Obviously, they were an excellent team last year, just did not have the quality pitching, but obviously now they have multiple-time All-Star Garrett Cole, so that is, I presume, why they are ranked number 1. Excellent team with young talent. Gleyber Torres, excellent in the postseason last year. Aaron Judge, Luke Voigt, all those guys. Miguel Andujar, Didi Gregorius, all those guys, just excellent. And I'm sure that's why the Yankees are number 1. So, moving along, number 2, the Dodgers. Again, no big surprises here. They're an excellent team. Cody Bellinger had an absolute breakout year last year. And they still have great pitching. They have Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler. Clayton Kershaw, he hasn't been excellent the past couple of years, but he's still a quality pitcher. I'm actually a little surprised that they're ranked number 2. I would have put them like number 3 or 4, but still excellent quality team. Number 3, is the Astros. The Astros, another great team. They have great pitching. They picked up Wade Miley, I believe. They lost Wade Miley. Sorry. But they're getting back Lance McCullers from. They're getting back McCullers from. I believe it was Tommy John surgery, and Jose Urquidy was an excellent pitcher in the postseason last year. So those two, to go along with Verlander and Greinke, they should be in great shape in terms of their pitching rotation. And of course, they have an excellent offense with Alex Bregman in the lead, along with Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, and a bunch of other guys, including George Springer. So those are the top 3. At number 4, we have the Minnesota Twins, and I actually quite agree that they should be this high, especially with what they did with their team last year. Despite not really standing out as a big home run hitting team, they completely blew away the expectations. They had 307 home runs, which is just off the charts, and they also had 101 wins. So despite not really having any top prospects in the game, they had an excellent season. Their chemistry must have been excellent, and they also acquired 2 pitchers during the offseason, Rich Hill from the Dodgers and Homer Bailey from the A's. So that will definitely help them this season, and I absolutely agree that they should be 4th. They should definitely be at least that high. And following them, at number 5, the Tampa Bay Rays. They were another team that didn't really seem to have a bunch of big names, but really got it done. Especially during the postseason, they pushed the Astros to 5 games in the ALDS, which was quite incredible. And they got a bunch of offensive production from Avisail Garcia. They actually lost Avisail Garcia, so they won't have him, but they will still be an excellent team. They figure out ways to win ball games, they scratch and claw, and they end up on top most of the time. So, yes, I do believe they are a good team. I don't think I would put them as high as number 5, though. Just my opinion there. I think they would be a little bit lower, but hey, this isn't my power rankings. So the rest of the top 20, we've got at number 6, the Braves. I totally agree with this. They're an excellent team. They've got everything. And of note, they've got Acuna, they've got Ozzie Albies, young stars that I'm sure will help them along the way this season. Number 7, the Nationals. Yes, they're a great team. They've got great pitching. Strasburg, Scherzer. They did lose Anthony Rendon to free agency. He's now on the Angels. Number 8, the Cardinals. Another great team. They've got a little bit of everything, and they made it fairly far into the playoffs last season. So no surprises there. Following them, at number 9, the Oakland A's. Yes, definitely agree with this. Great team. They've got some young stars, Matt Chapman, and they've got Sean Manaea, great pitcher. Following them, the Phillies. Absolutely, they should definitely be here. They've got an excellent team. Did not produce too well last year, however. Of course, they picked up Bryce Harper. They've got Gene Segura, JT Realmuto. They have an excellent squad, and I'm sure they will play better this season than they did last season. Number 11, the Diamondbacks. I'm actually somewhat surprised that they are this high up. I'm not quite sure about that one. Following them, the Chicago Cubs. Yep, not really a surprise there. They're a great team. They didn't make the playoffs last season, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. They've got some great talent. Anthony Rizzo, he's still producing. Chris Bryant, he's had some shaky seasons, but I think he's coming back. He's getting back to his usual self. And Wilson Contreras, also excellent to go along with some great pitching. So they're at number 12. Number 13, the Reds. 14, the Indians. They've got a good team as well. Francisco Lindor, Carlos Santana, excellent squad. 15, the Brewers. I actually believe they should be a little bit higher. They may be this low due to the fact that they don't have a ton of pitching, despite having a great offense with obviously Christian Yelich, Lorenzo Cain. Following them, number 16, the Red Sox. I assume I mean, I would probably put them a little higher. I assume they're this low because of their lack of production last season, and also because they are likely to lose either Mookie Betts or JD Martinez during this off season. Number 17, the White Sox. Number 18, the Mets. Number 19, the Angels. They just picked up an excellent player in Anthony Rendon, and I probably would have put them higher, except that they seem to not yet have any real starting pitching, so I assume that's why they are ranked so low. And number 20, the Rangers, the Texas Rangers. They'll round out the top 20, and there is your top 20 power rankings on MLB.com, and those are some of my views on those top 20. So there you have it. That will conclude this episode, and I really hope you enjoyed listening to the 5th episode of Everything Sports and Trade Talk. So thank you for listening. Peace out.